A fight ensued between two brothers, one ending up in prison while the other one's life cut short, leaving behind a young family and a needy child. Jane Rose Katumbi was widowed barely 6 years after marriage, and this is her story. She hails from a humble family, and upon breaking into adulthood, Jane Rose followed her dream of starting a family.
Wakati nilioleka, nilipata kijana mwingine na Sara, hao wengine niliolewa nao.
Now a mother of 5, Jane Rose shares her journey of living with a special bundle of joy.
Na hiyo siku nikipata Sara, ndio niliambiwa amepunjikia kwa tumbo. Nilitumwa huko theater, nikaenda nikafanyiwa operation. Bado kama hajafanyiwa operation, niliambiwa amekuja na miguu na bado amepunjikia kwa tumbo. Wakati alitolewa kwa tumbo, ndio alianza kilio kama sasa hiyo miguu ilikuwa imefanya tu hivi. Saa hiyo akapelekwa huko theater, huko kwa ward. Alikuwa analia kabisa. Kwanza hata sikuwa naona tu usingizi. Ninakuwa nakaa chini, akilia hata mimi nalia.
Sarah's persistent cry caused a lot of distress to the family, and they decided to take her to the hospital for doctor's intervention.
Tuliluti huko Kangundo, tukatumwa Kenyatta. Hiyo Kenyatta tulienda, kuna masiku tulienda huko, tukapewa hiyo date. Alikuwa anaenda kufungwa tu, anafungwa hiyo culture. Wakati tulipewa masiku ya kungojea hapone, tukarudi tena. Kurudi ameenda akafunguliwa, tukakaa kama wiki 2, akavunjika hii mguu ingine. Kufunguliwa hii tukikaa miezi 2 inavunjika tena. Wakati tulienda huko tukaambiwa hiyo mifupa yake ni weak, tukapewa dawa. Akakuja akakunywa hiyo dawa, bado hiyo mifupa haikuwa sawa. Tukarudi tena. Kurudi tena, nikaona tu huko Kenyatta uko na process mingi na pesa mingi.
In and out of the hospital, the family had deprived their resources in pursuit of Sarah's treatment. They decided to seek for a second and cheaper opinion.
Kurudi Kangundo, nikatumwa.
Sarah was assessed by the doctor, recommendations given, and medicine also prescribed. They went back home with the medicine as they waited for their next review.
Nilikuwa kwetu mahali nilisaliwa. Na hiyo nilisikia tu asubuhi kuna mama alikuja akaita sister yangu. Akamwambia, unajua kulienda na kulienda. Nikamwambia, kukuja aliniambia, mzee wako aliuawa na ndugu yake. Haya, nikalia, nikakimbia kila mahali. Nilienda tu nikakuta huyo mzee wangu kama amelala tu hapo chini. Haya, kumwangalia tu hivi, machozi inatoka. Saa hiyo nilikuta tu askari hapo walikuwa wanamkujia tu, wanaanza kuangalia vile walikuwa wanafanya.
Her husband's body was collected and investigations to the incidents kicked off.
Sasa huyu naye Nzau alikuwa anatoroka, anaenda huko Ruiru kwa masista yake. Alienda tu akasema, nasikia njaa, mnipe kitu nikule. Na nao hao walikuwa wameambiwa hiyo story vile alikuwa amefanya. Ndio wakimpea hiyo chakula, ndio wameenda kuita askari wakakuja kumshika.
Finally, in police custody, Peter, the perpetrator, was taken in for trial. He pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 10 years in prison. Patrick Marindanyi, a sergeant at Kitengela GK prison, recalls Peter's first days in prison.
Initially, he had been convicted of murder. When he went for an appeal, it was reduced to manslaughter, and he was convicted of 10 years imprisonment. So when he came to prison, Peter Nzau was not on his normal senses. It's like he was confused somehow. When we saw him, he was someone who was very depressed, and we wanted to know more about him. So when Peter Nzau came to me, because he was referred to me by the peer counselors, I went and sat down with him, and I wanted to know more about what he was going through. So Nzau told me that his problem is that he has been convicted of manslaughter, and it's of his brother. They were fighting with his brother, and his brother fell down and he passed on there. So Nzau, since he was arrested and convicted, he stayed in prison until when he was about to go home, that nobody has ever visited him. Now the problem was, how are people taking me at home? How are they still accepting me when I go back, or maybe nobody wants to do anything to do with me? So I talked with Nzau, and I remember it was a very hard situation, because in prison we don't have facilitations to go to the inmates' place, and also our mandate is to contain offenders. While they are still in prison, we do all the treatment with them, and we have nothing to go to the community. So the good thing is there is the open door policy, which was introduced by the then Minister of Home Affairs, Uncle Mudi Awori. And in this policy, when he gave out, is that now we can interact with the community, especially on matters on how to reintegrate and how to rehabilitate the prisoners. So through the Office of the Welfare and the Office of the Officer in Charge, we coordinated with our reintegration partners. And that's where we asked our friends, our partners, to come on board. And they really helped us, because Nzau gave us he drew the map on how to go up to his place, because there were no phones, there were no communication. So we went up to Tala, a place called Kalandini, and we went and met the chief of that area, who took us to the place.
Nilikuwa nasikia tu kama wako huko, wakikuja kunielezea walikuwa huko, nasikia vibaya tu. Nikasema wakikuja huko, akikuja huko si hata anyonga hao watoto wangu.
So we went home and we found that the community was still hostile. They were still remembering what had been done on the murder case. It is like we have come to remind them what they had forgotten. And I remember one old man saying that according to the law, when someone has killed, he is supposed to be killed there. He is not supposed to come back alive. And he also quoted the Bible that if you kill by a knife, you are supposed also to die by a knife. So we talked to them and we told them no. So we tried to engage the community, and eventually, now this was 6 months prior to his release, we went for that pre-visit.
Wakati Patrick walikuja walikuja wakatuelezea vile kulienda, na nilikuwa tu namsamea. Nikasema nitamsamea juu hata hiyo hiyo kitu, hiyo mambo ni imenifuru kwa roho yangu, lakini nimemsamea. Nimemsema nimemsamea.
Forgiveness is a commitment and a choice to show mercy, not to hold the offense up against the offender, as it brings peace beyond imagination, freeing your mind and heart of the negative energy. Out of the conviction of her heart, Jane Rose forgave Peter, but was he received by the community he had caused pain? Be sure to find out after this short break.
FamilyNews.Today provides an escape room from the clutter through our podcasts, from church escapades,
get disappointed with God, and I think it's a misplaced anger,
to daily devotionals.
The beauty about God's love is that it was focused on all that God had.
To financial and life tips, bedtime stories for your child. All these and much more available just for you on FamilyNews.Today, on Spotify, Google Podcast, and SoundCloud. Insights at your fingertips.
Led by Ladayamta CBO and integration partners, Patrick, while conducting the integration process, identified a need at Jane Rose's home that needed urgent attention.
The wife of the deceased was there, and she had a child who was not working since she was born. We were told that this child was born with a condition, and in that she could not sit well.
The condition was bad. The first time we met her, her mother was making her sitting. She organized a basin. Then you put some lessons. Then she sat there. Something you couldn't even want to see twice.
Because her legs were like this. So when we identified that issue, when we went back, we said, why? Maybe there is a way here. If we can look for people who will assist this child, maybe that will ease that reintegration. We went back and we talked to friends, and we found somebody who was willing. There is a Mzungu and a European man who had come to prison on attachment on the Catholic issue. We talked to him and we told him the issue that is at hand, and he said, let me go and see that child.
Walikuja Mzungu ndio waliona Sara wakakuja wakaona Sara, wakaongea na yeye, wakasikia vile anaongea.
September 2019, Peter stripped off the striped uniform and tasted freedom for the first time in 10 years. The integration team and well-wishers took him back to his community.
We went with Nzao home, and now here was a problem because here is a wife to his brother deceased, and you don't know how they are going to catch up together, how they will cope up, and the issue that had happened those years. And this mama was also taking care of their mother-in-law.
Wakati walikuja, nilisikia mbaya. Kwanza nilikuwa najipicha kwa nyumba, simuone uso yake.
Mama Sarah was very bitter, and when she saw Peter, I remember she wailed, she cried, and she said, now this is the man who murdered my husband, and now he has come back here. It was sad for her.
Nilimuona wakati wa sherehe, tulikuwa tu huko tukisherehekea hiyo mambo yake. Nikasema, sasa naye akikuja kweli nitakaa na yeye kwa mboma moja.
We had to talk with the community and made them aware on the programs that are happening in prison and that people can really change.
Naje tuliongea tu na niomba msamaha. Nikamwambia mimi nimekusamea.
Nilipelekwa nyumbani nikasaidiwa na kundi la integration kupitia ofisi ya welfare pamoja na kikundi ya ladha ya mtaa. Nilipofika nyumbani nilipokelewa, na baada ya hapo nikawa na changamoto, kwa maana kunao mambo ambayo kama kazi watu hawezi kupea, wengine hawakukubali. Kwa hivyo kunao wale ambao hawezi kaa na wewe wajua kuamini, na kwa sababu ulikuwa umetoka jela.
The team then took up Sarah's case and embarked on the treatment journey.
Even the time we took her from Tala up to this place, she was just crying all the way.
And when I met Sarah, she was in the company of her mom, of course, and in the company of 4 other gentlemen that I had not met before. But apparently the gentlemen, I think 2 of them were in uniform, and for me it was a surprise, and it was a shock also at the same time, because I was wondering why are the men in uniform bringing a patient, and because it's rare to have that or to see that here. So I got to interact with them, and the gentlemen were very friendly, and they introduced themselves to me, and I got to introduce myself to them as well. So I came to, that is how I came to know the story of Sarah, and I learned that the gentlemen were from Kitengela prisons. So my first curious question was, Kitengela prisons, and they brought a patient, why? What is the connection of Kitengela prison and Sarah? But then they gave me a story about her family, and it was about Sarah's dad, and Sarah's dad, who was murdered by the brother who is uncle to Sarah. And I found out that there were 2 chaplains, and one of them was a visiting priest from America who had accompanied them. I remember when Sarah came, she was carried by her mom, and Sarah couldn't walk. She had deformities in her legs, and then I came to learn that they had come to our hospital before, but then we lost them. They lost follow-up, and I just got to know that the reason why they got follow-up is because they had some social issues, which now I learned that day when they came.
Just at the right time, God sent help their way.
The visiting priest offered to pay some amount for Sarah's surgery, and it wasn't the full amount. But then because our hospital is a Christian hospital, and it's also an orthopedic children's hospital that takes care of children born with bone disabilities, it was a matter of concern for us on how we can best help Sarah and even the mother to take care of Sarah, because it's a deformity that requires a long-term follow-up and a long-term treatment, being that her bones are fragile, and she gets fractures every now and then. So it was a concern for us, and we felt the burden of walking the journey with Mama Sarah, and just to see that Sarah is helped and gets the treatment that she needs. And we were able to do the surgery, and from there on we have always taken the burden to help Sarah as much as we can. And the Kitengela prison staff have also been very helpful to Sarah's family, because they make sure that Sarah doesn't meet any of her appointments in the hospital.
Every time maybe there is a pain or like now, when that's the first time they put a plate and the legs grew and it was supposed to be replaced, we brought her here and they just took everything for free. And they have been doing that every time. Even if Sarah has any medication problem, we just call the hospital and they tell us bring the child.
Sarah suffers from a genetic bone disorder known as osteogenesis or brittle bone disease. At 9 years, Sarah hadn't enrolled to school due to the excruciating pain she experienced from fractures since her bones were fragile and could break easily.
I remember that time when we were bringing Sarah here for the first time, she didn't have any wheelchair. So when after the treatment here, the hospital, they told us that there is a wheelchair that we were supposed to window shop for the child, and we went and window shopped and we found that we were supposed to raise 120,000 for that particular wheelchair that she was supposed to use. But luckily enough, there is the management here called us again and they told us that there is a group of missionaries who are coming here and they are going to offer wheelchairs, and they will put Sarah on the schedule so that she can benefit from it.
By that time, the family was had lost hope, if I can say so. And so it has been a journey. I wouldn't really say that we are there yet, but at least the one thing that gives us joy as Cure is that she is not where she used to be. Considering that as a beautiful angel with a disability, they didn't even have a wheelchair.
Wakati nilipewa wheelchair nilifurahi. Hiyo wheelchair imenisaidia kwenda shuleni, kwenda kanisani. Kutembea huko nyumbani.
This frees her mother even time to do other activities, and also she's also able to move with the daughter to other areas, considering she's also growing. And so with a wheelchair, she's now able to move with her almost everywhere that the mom needs to be, and so she doesn't have to be domiciled at home.
It's after the surgery that she enrolled to school. Now she's a very bright girl. We visited the school and the teachers love her so much because she's very bright.
Broom, chalkboard, ruler, tree. That is a book. This is a desk. Tom has a cat. Matt is going to school. Nikikuwa mkubwa nataka kuwa mwalimu.
Jane Rose does menial jobs to provide for her children and support Sarah. However, she still has a cry in her heart.
Sina hiyo uwezo ya kumjengea choo. Kama nataka kujisaidia, namshikilia tu hivi, anajisaidia haja kubwa. Alafu nikapeleka kwa choo.
With her vision well outlined and her mobility eased, Sarah is grateful to God for sending help her way.
Napenda kusoma Bible. John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave his own son, that ever believe in him should not perish but have life.
The love of God is real. When you see this family, how they reciprocated on what had been done, the joy that they have in them, they know it is not a man's work. They attribute the work that has been done to God. If there are people who are there, you are doing anything, just remember to help someone, because once you restore that joy to this person, you have given that person a milestone, and who knows what God can do next.
Sarah is a beautiful story and sees her life beyond her limitations. To any mother whose bundle of joy came packaged differently,
first of all, God can't give you a burden that you cannot bear. And so there is a reason as to why God made that to happen. One thing I want to let them know that it's not a curse. All of us are actually potential candidates of disability because you see, if it's not congenital, it can still be acquired. Of course, nobody wants to have a child with a disability given an option, but it happens. And so there are those that can be corrected, especially if they are orthopedic in nature, but there are those that you have to manage and live with them. So the one thing I want just to encourage them right now is we have a lot of institutions currently where these children can be referred to for further care. If a parent is able to access the internet, and I'm saying this because I know many families do not have the luxury of having these gadgets, then they can check on how they can actually take care of these children. Also, we have a lot of health promoters at the county levels who follow up on these children, and also they can just register with the National Council so that these kids can get cards which can help them either in payment of school fees and also just in other social programs that are rolled out at the county level or from the national government. To those children who have conditions that you can treat at cure, and I'm talking about conditions like band contracture, so we have to do an operation. So if it's a band contracture, a club foot, a knock knee, a spine disability caused by infection. I'm speaking specifically for children of up to 18 years of age, that they can come to us so that we see how we can be able to assist them.
If you have a story you would like to share with us, kindly text us on 20316 or WhatsApp on 0786 316 316 and we will get back to you.